Hello again and welcome to another episode of Mordian Mondays. This is episode 31. So this week I have been working on my Bulgrin Star for my Mordian 50th rifles, and I have to say that I'm actually really pleased with how the results came out. So we're going to dive straight in today and go into my thoughts and processes for painting these guys. And then we'll probably, after we've done that bit of hobby, we'll move on to some general news and tactics and chatting and stuff. So, was a little worried when I started painting up the Bulgrins because I wasn't sure how they would come out. See, when I painted the Ogrins, they worked fairly well, but there was a lot of skin, a lot of flesh on those models, which was kind of forgiving. And I wasn't sure how it would turn out with the Bulgins, but actually I have to say I'm really, really happy with the results. So, and I have to say, it always takes a while when you're painting a new unit for the first time because you're trying to figure out how to do it. You've not got that mass production assembly line process worked out just yet. I have to say, it was surprisingly quick to paint up these guys. I think there's a couple of factors for that. One, they're bigger models, so it's much easier doing the large surface area parts. It's why tanks are really easy and quick to paint up, and infantry takes longer, even though a tank is a much bigger model than infantry. But also, if you actually notice, it's both a positive and negative. I haven't got a lot of extra pouches and bits on these guys yet. Now, I may add them at a later stage, but for now, I just wanted to test out the core model, as it were. And I'm not so sure if I will add loads of pouches because Bulgrins already have quite a lot going on. They're already quite a well detailed model because they're a fairly new one for Guard by Games Workshop standards. So I may or may not add pouches to them. I think they've probably already got enough going on with them, to be honest. So I painted up the Bonehead, which is the guy with the maul and the power shield. That's the one that gives him the 4 of invulnerable save. And I also painted up just a normal Ogrin with the slab shield and maul as well. Now, painting these guys was fairly standard. The green, I did a these guys are actually base coated white, amazingly. So they're actually base coated white. Which was interesting. Most of the models that I've done are have been base coated in dark colours, and these guys being base coated in white meant that I had to actually do a few extra layers. I find white paint shines through a little bit more, whereas dark paint doesn't. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about the base coat. So I find that a dark base coat, sometimes you only need to do the base coat and then one medium thickness layer, but with white paint I was finding I was having to do the base coat and then at least 2 coats, and actually for a lot of it I had to do 3 coats of paint, 3 thinner coats. I had to build that tone up over a bit, over a few more coats, which was different to dark models. Like I said, the base coat shines through a little bit more when you use a lighter base coat. Not a problem, just something that I've noticed and to be aware of if you're thinking of doing this, of doing some painting yourself. So I did, like I said, it was a base coat of just the old white. I don't think they make it anymore. It's been phased out for the new sort of Wraithbone and stuff like that. But the old white Scar white, that's what they were base coated in. And then I did 3 layers of sort of 2.5 layers of Caliban green for the body armor. That was then washed in Bale Tan green and then highlighted. Now I don't know. I think I'm doing it wrong, but I feel like you're meant to do your edge highlighting and then your washes at the end. But when I've done that, it's really muted, and the whole point is I'm trying to brighten up because it's a dark color scheme without the edge highlighting and dry brushing. So I kind of feel like when I wash it, it really mutes the the edge highlighting and the dry brushing and makes it look a bit too dark again. Whereas when I do the washes and then do the dry brushing and edge highlighting afterwards, it still looks really good, but also properly brightens the models. So let me know what you guys do down in the comment section. I would like to get your take on it, but that's what I've found has worked with this particular paint scheme, because it's got the two primary colours are both quite dark. So the trousers were 2 layers of Macragge blue, and then washed in Drakenhof Nightshade, and then dry brushed with not a dry paint, but just with some good old Calidor Sky, which is amazingly is a base paint. All this time I thought it was a layer, but actually it is a base paint. Well, there you go. The gold was people often do ask me, how do I do the dark skin tone? How do I do the black skin tone? I use Gorthor Brown, and then I just wash it in Norn oil, and it comes out really nicely. And then the rest of it's fairly standard. I use Ironbreaker for the metal and wash that in Norn oil, and I use Genna Gold for. There are quite a few golds. I use Genna Gold because it's a bit darker, but still, it's not quite so much in your face. And then I washed that in Norn oil as well. So fairly standard, same colour scheme as I've used on the rest of the Mordians. Couple of unique bits on the model. So the first one being the Bulgrin Maul. Okay, so the Bulgrin Mauls. I'll take a step back. The power weapons that I've used in the rest of my army, I have actually done them when it's been a proper power sword. I've done them as a base of Calidor Sky, and then weirdly, which I know a lot of people don't do this, I've then put one of the technical paints over that, and I use Soulstone Blue. And what that does is it makes you could just wash it in something like Drakenhof Nightshade and it would look fine. But I like the power sword to look like it's got a bit of a sheen, a bit of a glow to it. So I use Calidor Sky to do that. But it's a blue with a technical paint over it, which is not really how you're meant to use technical paint a lot of the time. Not with the Soulstone Blue. You're meant to use it on metal to make it look like a gem. Now, what I did with the Bulgrins is I wanted to be like, well, these aren't like proper power weapons. They're basically big lumps of metal that have got a charge running through them, like an electrical charge running through them, but they're not full-on proper power weapons. They're just like shock mauls, energy mauls, essentially. So what I did is I did them as a first time I did that. I used the Soulstone Blue how it's meant to be used, and I did them a base coat of a couple of layers of Ironbreaker, and then I used Soulstone Blue over that. Now I wasn't sure if I went too blue on it, but I did still want it to be recognizable with the rest of the power weapons. So I did 2 layers of Soulstone Blue. And that's how I got that sort of electrical maul effect. You guys have to let me know if I've pulled off. I think it looks pretty good, but I hope it doesn't look like the mauls are made out of glass. That is a little concern, but I don't think so. I think overall it works fairly well. Now, I know a lot of people will be asking, how did I do the Mordian caps for the Bulgrins? Well, I've improved slightly upon my Ogrin hat technique, and it's just made out of green stuff. So about a few months ago when I did the Ogrins, I did the hats on them. The hats look okay, but going back and looking at them now, they are a bit rough around the edges. They're not perfect, and so I just took a little bit more time on these ones. I've just refined the strategy a little bit more. The head shape's a little different with these guys as well. And it makes it a little easier to do the hats for these guys. So what I do, and I changed the steps in which I do it. But what I do to make the hats, guys, is I get I use Games Workshop green stuff. I don't use Milliput for this. I use Milliput for other stuff, but for the hats, I like the more tacky feel. Milliput's a bit chalky, for lack of a better term, and so it gets all over the place when you try and do fine detail work with it, I find. So I use the Games Workshop green stuff for this because I find it a bit more tacky, holds its shape a bit more, doesn't get smudged. That's the word I use, smudged. It doesn't get smudged. So to make the hat, I use, they're in 3 parts of green stuff. So the first bit is I make the hat rim, which is really simple to do actually. What you do is you make some green stuff and then you just roll it in between your thumb and forefinger to make it like a little sausage. You just make a little sausage out of it. You could roll it on the table if you want to, but I get like cat hair in it that way. So I roll it to the thumb and forefinger. Make sure it's nice and even. Sometimes it takes a couple of goes to get the perfect sort of green stuff sausage, and then I make it into a donut, and then I sort of mold the 2 bits together, the 2 ends together, so that it's nice and smooth, and then I just plop it on the guy's head and just gently sort of push it down, so it doesn't look like it's just floating on top of his head. I gently push it so it's sort of smooshed onto the head a little bit. Okay. So that's part 1. Part 2, I make the peak. So I make the top bit. That's really easy. I just get some green stuff and I just squash it flat. So it gets stuck on one of my fingers, and then I peel it off. And you've got a nice flat, make sure it's nice and even. You've got a nice flat disc. And when you peel it off, it follows sort of the curvature of your thumb. And so it gets a bit of a curve already, as you can see. And then you just stick it on top of the donut, on top of the head. And the last bit I do now is the peaked cap, and that is the same process that I've just done, but on a smaller bit, and then I flatten one side. So one side, it's like a semicircle, and then obviously the flat end connects to the brim of the hat, the donut in inverted commas. So that's it. The skull is, you could use any fake, you could just leave it, but I like to add a little bit more detail, so I have the skull. That is from the Scion kit, and it is it's on the tassels for the flag for the standard. So I just used the tassels from that, and there's 2 tassels per sprue per flag, and each one's got a skull on the end. So that's what I use them for. Now I think I'm running low actually. I might actually have to go and buy some of those little tassel things off eBay or something, or Bits Place. But that's what I do. And there you go. You have now got a fully completed hat for your Ogrins. And you could do exactly the same process, but with smaller bits on any model if you wanted to make your own hats. Apart from outside of some of the old one-piece metal models, I'd probably recommend, if you were going to use peaked caps, just buying them from someone like Anvil Industries or Victoria Miniatures, because they're much better. But if you want to save money, and if you want to do it on some models which you can't do a head swap on easily, I'd do the same thing. I'd do the same thing, just on a smaller scale. One bit I'm not happy on the model is the guy with the slab shield. I don't like the way the tattoos came out. I wasn't sure how to approach tattoos, so I tried a different technique on each arm. On his shield arm, I think it looked crap. On his shield arm, I tried to paint it on, and it just looked rubbish. And so then I had to go over it again with flesh to get rid of the black paint, and then I'd filled in too much of the recess because it's recessed into the arm. And then I tried a technique where I just used washes, and I used that on the other arm, and it looks much better, but it still doesn't look perfect. So if anyone's got any tips on how to do tattoos, I would be really grateful, because if I can't improve what I've come up with now, I may end up just painting it really thickly. It sounds awful, but painting it really thick so you can't see the tattoos. I know, it's a bit cheating. But I just used washes of Norn oil, like lots of Norn oil on the maul arm, and it looks a bit better. But it's still not great. The other arm does look absolutely shocking though. The shield arm looks shocking for the tattoo. I have to say, one bit I am really pleased with is how the slab shield hazard stripes came out. I am really enjoying adding hazard stripes to my Mordians in general, and I think it's going to be a really good way. It's going to be the final. It's going to be the final way of me brightening the army up. It's the hazard stripes are what's going to do it, and they're going to look cool, and it fits in with the Mordian fluff, and it will also be there's going to be quite a few hazard stripes throughout the army. So I'm thinking we're going to have them on all the, when I go back and do first platoon, all the chain swords and stuff. I'm going to put hazard stripes on them. Yeah, it's going to be good. One other thing I was thinking of when I'm going back and doing second platoon is I'm not super happy with the epaulets on the Mordians. The time of the classic metal Mordians, at the time, I was just going for speed. I think they should have gold epaulets. I just think it would look better. And then the tricky question is, how do I apply that to the Cadians? Do I do on the Cadians? It'd be quite difficult to do this in a smooth way, but we could probably do it with a bit of time and effort. On the Cadians, do I just have a gold stripe on the shoulder pads? You know, would that work? Or is this totally mad? Do I have yellow epaulets with a black trim on the Mordians, and then on the Cadians do hazard stripes on all the on one of the shoulder pads or both shoulder pads? I think that would look a bit mad. I think what would be better is to have gold. What do you have the second colour though for the Mordians? That's the difficult bit. What do you have as your second colour on your epaulets? A single gold stripe down the middle of the Cadian shoulder pads would look good. But what do you do with the epaulets on the Mordians? You can't have it all gold. It'd have to be gold, and then the rim would have to be something else. So it's tough. It's tough to know what to do. Maybe gold and white? Tricky. Any idea that you guys have got would be really appreciated. So that's it on the hobbying front. Tactics front, there's not a huge amount. I didn't play, unfortunately, I didn't play any Warhammer this week. I've just been focusing on the painting. I did not a huge amount. I've just been sort of theory crafting a few lists. I've been thinking about tournaments and trying to get my Mordians up to tournament level and taking the tournaments. And I'm just thinking about how the best way to take a pure infantry army to the tournament would be. And I think I've been getting a little hung up on trying to be meta or anti-meta. And so I feel like if I'm going pure infantry, the best tactic to do would actually just be like, okay, I have 18 infantry squads I can take. So I'm going to be taking 3 battalions. I can't take a brigade because I don't want to have to take 3 sentinels. They're too much of attacks. So I'm going to take 3 battalions. That gives me 18 infantry squads. If that's the case, should I just fully pimp out those 18 infantry squads? Should I have 18 infantry squads? Because I can do this with las cannon, plasma or melter, and a power sword in each one. Because if we took the most expensive option and went las, melter, and power sword, it's still only 9 points per squad. It's not that expensive. I mean, it's expensive, but then you've got a squad which can shoot from a long way away. As Mordians has good Overwatch because you can have hitting on 5+ las cannons and melter guns. And then you've got, if someone you've got good long range shooting, good medium to short range shooting, and then if you have to get into combat, you've got every squad is kitted out to do anything. So no matter which part of the army they target, they've still got the same threat. There's none of this, oh, if I shoot these squads, we've got the las cannons, and I'll have to try and fish for wounds with auto cannons, so that will, make his, job harder. No, what if I just say every squad gets the same loadout, and that loadout is the best loadout that we can afford to give them? And then, on top of those 180 guys, you've got your 3 squads of veterans, which is another 30 guys, all of them armed with missile launcher and triple grenade launcher. Then have your 3 heavy weapon teams with mortars. I know mortars have taken a bit of a hit, but you still want that out of line of sight targeting. And then take 3 command squads with 2 grenade launchers and a missile launcher in each. Because you might as well go for missile launchers over autocannons these days. Sort of, it's because missiles are so cheap. And what you've got is 180 line infantry plus 30 veterans plus 30 support. So that's 240 infantry. And you've got support characters. And so your support character, if we work this out roughly now, and again, I have played around this a little bit, but if you take, let's go for the most expensive option. You can always dial it back in if you have to. So it's 40 for the infantry squad, 15 for the las cannon, 10 for the melter, 4 for the power sword. You take that 18 times, you look at 1,242 points. Now each squad of veterans is 69 points as well. So your veteran squads cost the same as your infantry squads. Your veteran squads have only got grenade launchers and missile launcher though, so they've got good medium firepower, but they don't need to get close. Okay. Then with your and they're a lower priority. The reason why you take sort of lower grade weapons in your veterans is twofold. One, they don't, you don't want to take plasma and melter because you have to pay out the arse for them on Blister Skill 3+ model. But also, people will then be more inclined to shoot your infantry squads because, the infantry squads have got las cannons, but the veterans have only got missile launchers, and everyone knows las cannons are better than missiles, so they'd be more inclined to leave your veterans alone, but actually your veterans are stacking on quite a lot of damage. Then you've got your 3 command squads. Now each one of those command squads is 40 points because it's 24 points plus 2 grenade launchers, 6 points, plus a missile launcher is 10 points. That's another 120. And then you've got your 3 mortar squads, and I think they're 45 points each. So that's 1,704 points for your 240 infantry. You've got your heavy weapon, you've got everything but special weapon squads at that point. Then you take your 3 company commanders, that's 90 points. You take your 3 Lord Commissars, because you're going to need them to fill out the battalions. Or, we'll go for that for now. And then you've got your 3 platoon commanders, because you're going to need some more orders. And that leaves you with 1959. So you've got 40 points left over. Now, that's good, but ideally you'd want, you want things like some priests in there, don't you? So ideally. So if you dropped, I don't think you'd quite get enough, you want something like priests or astropaths. But if you dropped your what am I trying to say? If you dropped your melter down to plasma, okay, that saves you 3 points a squad, so that saves you 54 points overall, which leaves you with 95 points to spend. You could get a couple of priests in there for that. And you could also, that leaves you with 25 points left over. You could have an Astropath in there if you wanted to. But the point is that you can pretty much get, you could fill it with the points. And you can pretty much get what you want out of that. Maybe, if you want to take, if you think drop down all the las cannons or some of the las cannons to more missile launchers, for example, whatever. Because that would save you another 80 points. So if you dropped all the las cannons down to missile launchers, you'd save 80 points, which is pretty good. If you did that, like I said, we're just tweaking with it now. This is the point that I got to. So if you drop those 80 points, then you can get your 3rd priest and you can get your 3 Ashpaths that you want. because you want the astropaths. So what you have there is an army of 18 infantry squads. Every single one's got a missile launcher and a plasma gun, both solid. You know, you're going to be overcharging. So every squad's got 2 strength 8 weapons at rapid fire range. That's 3 strength 8 shots. Then you've got all your. So how many? That's a lot of missile launchers. That's like 18 missile launchers plus another 6 missile launchers. So that's like 24 missile launchers, followed by 18 plasma guns, followed by 15 grenade launchers, followed by 9 mortars. And if you wanted to, you could upgrade. You've got some spare points there to upgrade your mortars into like autocannons to get a bit more punch. If you know, but I think mortars is good for the out of line of sight stuff. And then, so you can shoot the crap out of people. You know, you can shoot the crap out of people, and you can play around with the points. So if you want to go as Cajun, you can go Creed and Kev. That template fits any regiment. What I've just described fits any regiment, and that's what I think. That's what I've been trying to do with my list recently. I've not been trying to build lists that are reliant upon one regiment. They're lists that you like with my mechanized list that I did last week. It's a list that you can just take any regiment. You want to go, you know, you've got close combat capabilities because every squad's got a power sword. You know, every squad has a power sword, and there's enough priests in the army so that this is what I quite like about it, about overloading the squads. Yeah, you're paying a lot of points, but guess what? You've only got infantry squads to spend your points on. So why not take them and make them as good as possible? You know, so that's the sort of tactic that I've been thinking about. And the end result is, if you get into a shooting war, you're guard, you're happy, you can do shooting wars, no problem. If you get into but if on the flip side, you know, let's say you're playing some ITC and there's some units hiding out in magic boxes, you can do combat because you've got enough bodies with enough attacks and enough power weapons to really pull off some good bayonet charges. Because people might hide like some infiltrating units into a magic box, but you know, if you just charge 30, 40 guardsmen into that magic box, and every single, you know, that's 80 attacks at least. If you charge 4 squads in, you're looking at 12 power sword attacks, followed up by a whole boatload of regular attacks. You know, and you could do that more than one turn. It's only 40 guys out of the 240 that you're bringing. So, and that's like, that's just my thinking. I don't know what you guys think. But I think if I'm going back to my pure infantry roots, then if I'm just taking pure infantry, not any auxiliary support, I go full down the guardsman rabbit hole. Then why not make those guardsmen the best equipped they could possibly be? And if someone wants to have a shooting fight with me, they can. If I need to go on the offensive, I can. If I need to counterattack, I can. If I need to absorb a few charges and then fight my way back, I can do. If there's an enemy sat on an objective and I can't dig them out from shooting alone, and there's just a couple of guys that's on there, I have the tools to get into combat and finish them off. I've got decent psychic. So, I don't know what you guys think, but that's kind of the tactics that have been running through my mind recently. Obviously, I'm painting at Bulgarians, and I've got a list to incorporate those. I'm thinking, 3 battalions, and then just don't go nuts totally. Have a fire support battalion with 3 veteran squads, and then like 2 assault battalions with a big Bulgarian star to draw a lot of fire. That's the other option I'm looking at to incorporate the Bulgarians. But yeah, I think that it's interesting. How would you, if you were going pure infantry, how do you think would it be silly to go totally overboard on the infantry squads, or if they're the main core of your army, is it worth investing the points in them? That's what I'm trying to say. Is it worth investing the points? I think it is, and I'm very interested to know what you guys have been up to. What you guys think. Speaking of what you guys have been up to, though, we're going to wrap the video up here now, guys. As always, I'm really interested to hear about the hobby projects that you guys have been working on. It keeps me motivated. I love hearing about what everyone's been up to this week. My plan for for the next few Mordian Mondays is to get these Ogryns, Bullgryns finished off. I've actually probably got enough time. I'm recording this video fairly early-ish in the day, so I think what I'm going to do is trying, even though I've already painted up 2 now, I'm going to spend the rest of the day trying to get a 3rd one painted up for this week. And if I can paint 3 more each week, then in 2 more weeks I'll have a full Bullgryn star, and that will be awesome. 9 Bullgryns. The loadout I'm looking at now, I have made it so the shields are detachable, but the loadout that I'm looking at is 3 of them with the power shields for a bit of an invuln, if I get hit by something really nasty, and 6 of them with the slab shields. But like I said, at the moment there's only the Bonehead, which is the guy with the beard, has his shield glued in. He's the only one with it glued in. He was rookie error I made when I was building them. But the other ones, the shields are detachable, which is cool. One thing I want to say about the Bonehead, I actually forgot to say, is I painted his teeth and I gave him a gold tooth because I thought that would look cool, but I don't think it's come up on the photograph. Let me know if it has done. So there you go, guys. I'm going to wrap the video up here. Bullgryns for the next couple of weeks, probably, unless I get bored of painting them. And let me know what you think about the loadout for the Bullgryn squad. Let me know what you think about the epaulettes on the guardsmen. Let me know what you guys have been up to. And let me also know what you think about the overloading of equipment on the guardsmen squad. Lots of homework for you guys this week. But it's not really homework, it's just opinions. I would really appreciate getting your take on it. So thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.